along the same vein, will the New York Racing Association consider decreasing the number of races run on each race day at Saratoga to help what the questioner calls the better fatigue that some might feel having to decipher 10 and 11 race cards every day?
Well, you're right. It is a question in the same vein in that we will look at the data at the end of the meet to determine what are the right number of races to have on the card any given day. But I will tell you this, what I'm seeing at this point is there is no better fatigue. There's a great deal of demand. I mean, when you think about it, the biggest card we've had was the card on Saturday. We had a total of 14 races, and yet there was activity throughout the entire day. And that's because our races are huge nationally. Last year, our races counted for 35% of the handle across the country during the Saratoga meet. And I suspect this year, when the meet is over, that number will be even higher. And that's significant because there are 4 different time zones in this country. And so whereas we may feel fatigued ourselves when we get to the 10th or 11th or the 13th or the 14th race, the fact is that is in a prime time of day for the folks on the West Coast, including those in Las Vegas. So the data that I've seen to date doesn't show any better fatigue, but we will look at that in greater detail. We're measuring how many people stay for each race. When do the parking lots begin to empty? We do it on a quarter-hour basis, so it won't be just anecdotal comments or observations that I make or anybody else makes. We'll have data. We'll look at the amount of bets that are made and the amount of the handle and when they're made throughout the day to get a better idea. But it is significant, I think, for us to remember, you know, the handle we had this weekend for the Travers was a record. It was a record for us nationally. It was also a record for us here on site. But the ratio was 5-to-1 between the amount bet off-site and the amount bet at the race course. So when we think about our fatigue that we may have at the end of the day, and certainly most of us are getting up early, the fact is there are people all across the country where they're 3 hours behind us, and they do enjoy this kind of betting, and there clearly is a demand because we have such a high-quality product.
And Pat, I know you're, by the way, I think we had last year's record beaten after the 12th race this year, if I'm not mistaken. I know you're seeing things from both the on-track perspective and the off-track perspective. I know the industry standard is about 90% or 92% of all money is bet off-site. Do you have any perspective on this, seeing kind of both sides of the equation?
Well, yes, and I'll echo what Chris has said, that if you look at it from an on-track perspective, and you can see a lot of people leaving after the feature, certainly, and we had 2 races after the Travers. A lot of people were gone by the 13th race. But if you look at what's being bet around the country, and if you consider you're in a race book in Las Vegas, or you're at Del Mar and betting a simulcast, and you look up and see your choice of signals, and you see Saratoga still up there at 3:30, 3:45 in the afternoon in Los Angeles, that Saratoga brand means something, and people will bet into that last race. So it holds up pretty well when we talk about the all-source money. It was part of the reason we set a record with $41 million being bet nationwide. It does drop off a little bit on track, and that's to be expected, but the total handle has increased as a result of this. So as Chris says, we'll look at the numbers, continue to consider what's being done on track and what's being done off track and what makes sense.
All right, good. This next question, a little similar to the last one, but it is, if in the near future NYRA is successful in increasing attendance and handle at the 2 downstate tracks, and Chris, I think you've spoken publicly of your desire to do that.
Right.
Will the number of races per day and racing days be decreased at Saratoga? In other words, if you can achieve your goals downstate, could that factor into what you're thinking for upstate? Well,
I guess I'd say it 2 ways. Number one, we are going to do everything in our power to increase the attendance and the handle and the activity at our 2 downstate locations. But that is not going to drive when we start or when we finish here. Saratoga is something absolutely special. And so our analysis is going to be, how can we keep Saratoga special? Is there a way for it to improve it? And then whatever that decision is, we'll respond accordingly at Belmont.
I told you earlier I wasn't going to edit these questions, and this next one is proof of that. The question is, why are there so many 5 furlong and 5.5 furlong races? Saratoga racing is not even close to the quality of the past 30 years. What's going on here? Purses are high and horses are cheap.
I think I've had enough. I've answered the last 3 questions. I would recommend PJ answer that one.
Okay, well, Chris is the boss, so it's all yours, PJ.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll look at the 5 and 5.5 furlong races, and we'll answer this 2 ways, because I'm not sure if it's turf or dirt. So we'll talk about the turf sprints. Turf sprints were probably instituted here 7 to 9 years ago. Turf sprints out of this year, out of our total turf program, is about 29% of the total turf races run here. The average field size is over 9. You know, the horsemen respond to it. You have different categories of the turf sprints. As far as the 5 and 5.5 on the dirt, that would really just refer to the 2-year-old program. Obviously, 2-year-olds, you're only going to have from 5 furlongs to 7 furlongs. You know, last year, maiden 2-year-olds, we ran 82 baby races. Obviously, with 82 baby races, you have the most significant 2-year-old program in the country. You're going to run 5 furlongs to 7 furlong races for your 2-year-olds. And as far as the quality, you know, I think quality is defined by each individual person. You know, I mean, I can get 10 different answers when I talk to 10 different people. Obviously, with quality, we have the best stakes program in the country. We have 34 graded stakes and 40 days of racing. We have a stake race almost every day. You know, but the next person might think a field of 20 claimers of 12 is a great betting race, and they might define that as quality. So I think it just really depends on the individual.
All right. Now we're going to look downstate a little more. What is NYRA doing to work on revitalizing Belmont Park to make it a little more fan-friendly? And the questioner goes on, and with those changes, will NYRA consider contracting the Saratoga meet by 5 or 7 days to return the spa to more of a boutique meet sort of feel rather than the current too much of a good thing feel it now has among some people? So I guess the first part of that question is, what are we doing to make Belmont, or will do to make Belmont a little more fan-friendly?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that's so impressive here at Saratoga is the intimacy that I feel. I'm close to people, and someone is invariably cheering because they've won, and I think that's great. At Belmont, you have a much larger building. And as people spread out, you lose any sense of community that you have here. So one of the things we're looking at right now is basically moving in the boundaries, if you will, so that most of the people will be within 50 to 150 yards of the finish line and create an opportunity for that community again at the finish line, if you will. And so that's one of the things we're going to do to try to enhance the guest experience. In addition, as of September 7th, we will have new betting machines in place. This is the end of our agreement with United Tote, and we will start at Belmont with state-of-the-art equipment provided by Amtote. So that will be one other way where we're going to try to improve the guest experience. And finally, one of the reasons we go there is to see these great athletes in action, and hopefully we'll now see more of them up close and personal with this reconfigured seating area. But in addition, we also sometimes go there to wager a few dollars, and everybody would like to be more successful in their wagering. And so what we're going to do is conduct a seminar on September 21st, the week before the Jockey Club Gold Cup, with 2 of the best-known handicappers in the country. And I think it will be a very productive and instructive session for all our fans that want to come that day. So those are 3 things we're trying to do to improve the situation at Belmont as we speak. And going back to the number of days of the meet here, again, we're going to take all the appropriate steps to make sure that we have the right number of days here at Saratoga. But one thing that I mentioned when I actually spoke here to a Chamber of Commerce group is that there is a study that shows, dated back in 2011, that there was an annual economic impact of $200 million to this community as a result of the Saratoga meet. And what I've heard this year is that it's even better news, that the hotels, our bookings are up, that it costs more on average to pay for a hotel room, and that the restaurants have been filled. So I suspect if we were to go back and look at it again, those economists might find that the annual economic impact is even larger than $200 million a year. So I hear people say we want to, cutting back the number of days, but when you cut back a week, then there's one less week of economic impact that this community would enjoy as a result of all this tourism and all this activity as a result of the Saratoga meet. And so there are a number of factors, as I said earlier, that we need to balance. But those are fairly important ones for the people of this community.
All right, our next few questioners are not concerned about the length of the meet. They have other concerns. What are your plans to upgrade the AV? I've searched the entire facility for a place to hear paddock chat and have yet to find one. At times, Durkin is very clear, and at times inaudible. Someone has their hand on the volume control.
Excuse me, I'll take that, Eric. We currently are testing some new speakers in the backyard as well as through the facility. There's been numerous complaints about whether it's Tom's call or whether it's the race replays not being clear or not being heard throughout the plant. So we're currently evaluating that to make upgrades for next year. As well as in the backyard, we currently have 6 video displays back there that we plan to have new 10-millimeter boards back there. We currently have a board at Belmont that we've demoed and tested. It's been very successful. So to upgrade the current technology that's back there, that will be in place for next year, as well as additional improvements throughout the facility with new flat screen televisions that we've been phasing in over the last 2 years. I'm sure you've noticed on the porch, as well as the dining area, as well as near the carousel, there's been new flat screens, and that'll work its way out to the backyard as well.
All right, then. Similar question. Can you please up the volume on Maggie and not blast our eardrums out with the ads? I get that you need the ad revenue, but I like to hear the important things on track, which is rare. But the ads, I can hear them almost to the sales pavilion if the traffic is light enough. So
I guess I'll take that one since I'm the business guy. I had nothing to do with the volume as far as the ads are concerned, and we certainly are not cranking them up because we want to have additional revenue. If anything, I'm the guy that's been trying to give you those other clips, the clips that show the Jockey Appreciation Day, the clips that talk to you about our unsung hero for the day, the clips on Ramon and his incredible career. So if I could crank up the volume for those, I certainly would have. I absolutely agree, though. Getting the volume right is important. But this is one of the challenges of a wiring system that's been around a long time. And we love this building, but we've got to find a way to provide more consistent volume for the important stories that we want to tell. And you may have heard me say this before, but the greatest thing that I've experienced since being in this job is the fact that I've been able to get up close and personal with an incredible group of people, the owners, the trainers, the jockeys, the fans, and the people that work for the New York Racing Association. And what we've tried to do is provide you with a series of stories on those big boards in between races. We're going to do even more of that in the future. And we're going to do it in a way that you will be able to hear it well throughout our entire facility.
all right, staying with TV. When is the NYRA channel going to be made available on Verizon Fios on Long Island?
Oh, thanks, Eric. I'll take that one. The NYRA channel is currently available in the 5 boroughs. On Long Island, it's a product of NASA and Suffolk OTB. I believe it's available on Cablevision.
Yeah,
so,
but not NYRA, not Fios.
Not Fios, that's correct. So in terms of the region, the market, we don't control the distribution in that area.
Who does? It's Files says it's you guys.
Uh,
It's my question, it's fine.
Yes, it's a public access channel that NASA, I believe NASA OTB controls, and Suffolk uses the same feed. Well, what we'd like to do is we're actually looking, because right now we have and one of the other questions are about high definition, because it really comes down to the distribution of the best product that we can get out there. And we're looking right now at other ways to distribute, and online streaming, if we can get the latency to an acceptable level, we believe will be a kind of a leapfrog approach, because to get the distribution via satellite is quite expensive, and we haven't been successful with the carriage as an industry, not just as NYRA.
But why would Files tend to pick it up in 5 boroughs, but not on Long Island? I don't get it. Like, Files signal is better than the Cablevision signal. I mean, that's one of the reasons people in Long Island have switched to Files. The Cablevision will tell you that, that's the truth. So, you know, I'm kind of caught. Believe it or not, I have both. I mean, I'm paying for Cablevision and Files because my daughter and my wife want the Files, but I want the racing channel. And listening to TVG, when they say stuff like, you know, Billy Matters great with firsters and he's 0 for 5 years up here, I just can't watch him, you know, so I want to watch him. I want to watch
Well, that I could appreciate.
And you know, it is, and, you know, I like watching Andy, and up here it's great. Up here it's great. At home, downstate, and I'm stuck with, I need you guys' Files on to get on Long Island.
When I get back down, we'll make some calls. We'll see what we can do. I'll work with NASA OTB to get to what could be the issue. But
I appreciate it. I know a lot of friends who've gone back to Cablevision because you know, they're like, they miss it too. You know, my poor daddy sits there all day complaining, so I had to go I'm paying for 2 cable services in the house. It's crazy.
no, I understood, and I appreciate your loyalty to
Come
the
up
signal.
here, it's great. I mean, even though you don't have the dedicated NYRA channel all day, at least Capital OTV has their act together, you know? It's not like downstate. That's sort of Suffolk is a mess.
Yeah, so we'll see.
There is no city OTV, so
That's it. It's great that you want the signal, and that what we do is when we get down there, I'll make a few calls.
I'm the high def question too, so if you tap into that, I appreciate it.
That was next on my list.
Next question. I mean, Calder has it, I don't get why NYRA can't.
When will high-definition cameras, this gentleman wants to know, be put in place?
Well, we have the cameras. If you watch on the screens on the track, the picture is pristine.
Right.
It comes down to actually the network for the industry does not have the carriage for high definition. So what we're looking at now are ways that we can get that content out. TVG, HRT.
If NBC picks up your signal and does the races that NBC has them, and you're watching home, you're getting a high def signal.
Correct.
And if you're a fan of the sport, it's night and day. I mean, the difference in the quality between when NBC has it and when you're getting it from you guys. I mean, if there's ever a sport better served by having high def, it's horse racing. Yes.
Correct. Absolutely.
So you want to get there, right?
We absolutely do. It's really more of a latency issue on terms of how we can get it across the internet, because it looks like that's going to be the way that it could be distributed most efficiently.
So they're looking to do it through the internet, though, not through the television signals.
Yes, that's true. Oh, and it's also going from track to track as well, because right now it bounces off a satellite. So we're looking to test with Keeneland actually this fall, to going in between the 2 tracks on an internet technology that we'll see what the latency, and we'll compare it to the satellite feed.
Thank you.